Hi everybody, I'm Simone,
Hi, I'm Marianna.
and we're going to talk today about an educational video about Altasciences preclinical ophthalmic expertise. I'm Simone Iwabe, Director of Ophthalmology here in Altasciences.
And I'm Marianna Bacellar-Galdino. I'm a veterinary scientist in ophthalmology.
And our team is completed with two associate ophthalmology specialists, Brandon Oson and Nathan Jordan. In our agenda, we're going to talk a little bit of the most updated industry trends in ophthalmic therapies, our ocular expertise, our site capabilities, and also a little bit more our ophthalmology staff. Some considerations when you're thinking about running ocular studies, and also how we can help optimize these study designs.
About some industry trends. There is a lot of diseases that are high in the list, especially for market and for grants. So one of the most requested diseases and treatments are the wet and dry AMD, the dry eye disorder, glaucoma, and some other retinopathies. There's a lot of people suffering for this and a lot of need on ophthalmology drugs for the market. Here you can see prediction for the next years on the US ophthalmic drugs market size and the global ophthalmic drug market size, which has been increasing since early 2000s.
Talking about a little bit of our expertise, the ocular studies are running in Scranton, Pennsylvania preclinical facility. So we are ALAC accredited, US registered, and PHS assured facilities. We have DA registered schedules for running studies with drugs 1 to 4. We have about 85 staff members in total, about 40 animal rooms, and with all these capabilities to fill all these species. Just to have a brief idea, we also have other sites around US and one in Canada, as you can see in this slide, with specific expertise. But talking about ocular studies that we have run here in Scranton.
We have this table just showing that in our site we work with most of the species. So we have rodent work, rabbit, dog, swine, and non-human primate. And our study numbers for the year since 2021 had been very stable and high. So just like a note to see, of course, 2025 is still not complete because we are still on this year. This other table shows the types of route of administrations that also we've been working. Just a couple of them, the most requested ones. We do other customized and other types of routes too for ocular. But the main one that is still being developed a lot is the topical and intravitreal. There's a lot of subretinal studies as well, especially using gene therapy, suprachoroidal, and lately for dry eye disease, also intralacrimal studies. Another thing is we do work with all the types of molecule. So we do have a lot of requests on a small molecule, large molecule. We do work with medical devices as well, devices that deliver drugs and devices that are just the device is the main treatment. A lot of gene therapy, as our group is very specialized in gene therapy with a lot of experience. And also we do efficacy studies with model induction for the type of disease that you are developing your drug.
Talking a little bit more, as Marianna already mentioned, some of the ocular routes and species that we can work. Basically, we can deliver your drug from the front of the eye to the back of the eye, either as a topical installation, subconjunctival. As Marianna mentioned, the most frequently requested is the IVT or intravitreal in the back of the eye. Recently is increasing more for gene therapy, either IVT delivery or subretinal injection as well. But as you can see, we have a broad range of routes of administration that we can perform here. We are the only site also to perform or to work with all the species, the most common requested for studies, either ocular or general tox from mice or rabbits, We can work with Dutchies and New Zealand's dogs, nanopigs, mini pigs, and also non-human primates. And all these species, we can also run any ocular studies as you request. Another thing that is highlighted for Altasciences is that we can provide you from beginning to end of all your studies. So we can help screening, selecting your drug candidate. Some of those drugs we can help manufacturing as well. And in our end, and in our Scranton and ophthalmology team, we can help you choose the best species to run your study, helping with MTD, DRF studies from efficacy, safety to GLP tox, non-tox. And we can also have some sites that we can start running your clinical trial phase 1 and 2, part 2A actually.
So talking a little bit about the ocular models, which is a new area that we have here at the site and a lot of experience. So most of the diseases, when you have a drug that you are producing for a purpose, you do need to do some efficacy work, which is testing the drug for the purpose that you are looking for. So in the case of the wet AMD, we do have some animals that we can induce the retinal leakage, which mimics the disease, and we can test your drug to see if it is efficacious. On the other side as well, we do have a dry AMD model, which is another high disease on the list for treating and for finding new therapies. So we do have sodium iodide induced model, which we can do IV, or the best approach would be using the nanopig and inducing locally, so subretinally. In the blue light damage as well, it's another very good model for this type of disease. We do also have some models for retinal detachments, uveitis, so we can use different ways of inducing uveitis and helping you develop the best treatment and the best route for your disease. Other models that we also work are for cornea. So corneal lesions, we can do chemical, mechanical. We do also work with the neovascularization of the cornea. We can do some dry eye disease inducing with particulate matter, which is all the particulate that is on the air. We also do chemical inducing dry eye disease, which is very, very common, and meibomian gland dysfunction. And for glaucoma, of course, it is also another very specific disease that there is no current best treatment for it. So we do have a couple of models that mimic some sides of that disease. And we can also customize the models to best fit your drug mechanism of action. So if you think about something that it's not really well understood, we can help you customize any of the models for your target and your drug.
So how can we support your study? So as I said before, we have always introductory meeting between you and us, so our ophthalmology team, to introduce the entire team and say, again, our capabilities and how we can help you. You can discuss with us and we help you based on the ideas that you have for your study design. We can make some suggestions to add more procedures or maybe decrease the numbers of frequency of any other procedure that is not really necessary. And also, as I mentioned before, our two ophthalmology specialists are the ones that are running all your study, from ERG, standard points, images. They help us analyze. So everything that is ophthalmology related is running by our team. So it's highly specialized. And also one of main point is that we have a fast report writing delivery for send package within 7 days of the final report.
The key procedures for your ocular study, usually, we are breaking on anterior and posterior segments. So when we talk about the front of the eye, what are the key procedures? So we do ophthalmic examination, IOP, so intraocular pressure, pachymetry, which we are looking for the cornea, electroretinography as well. We can do fluorescein staining, and we do all the types of scoring that are published and well known for tox studies and for efficacy. We can also do tear measurements, photography, pupillometry, anterior segment OCT of the cornea and angle, and also the corneal confocal microscopy to look at the endothelial cells of the cornea.
So when we talk about if your drug is targeting now the back of the eye, so of course, ophthalmic examination is essential for any ocular studies. You still want to look if there is any increase or decrease in the intraocular pressure. The ERG, the electroretinography, is also important because you want to see if your drug is going to interfere in the retinal functionality. However, one thing that we always suggest and is good when you are aiming the back of the eye is also adding some fundus photography, as you can see in the image below, to see how your test article is behaving, if there is any other lesion in the back of the eye, and also add a posterior segment OCT. As Marianna said before, this time is not going to target in the cornea, but will be targeting the retina if we see any change in the anatomy of the retina. And of course, doing all the scoring, as she mentioned before. And depending on your drug, we can suggest an additional method that will be the fluorescein angiography that we're going to discuss a little later.
So if your target disease is dry eye, for example, what we can do for your drug? So usually we advise to have ophthalmic examination, which is one of the main points, intraocular pressure, pachymetry, ERG, just to make sure that your drug is not interfering with the visual function, even though it is for the front of the eye, we still want to know if the retina is healthy. Fluorescein staining, we can do the scoring, of course, and for dry eye, the tear measurement is one of the most important ways of looking for it. For glaucoma, we have almost the same measurements for the dry eye. However, there's a couple of things that can be performed to help titrate better if your drug is interfering or if it is working. So pupillometry is one of them, and also the anterior segment OCT, especially the iridocorneal angle.
Now, when we're talking about the back of the eye again, we have the intravitreal and subretinal delivery. So as you can see, both methods are pretty much the same. So the procedures are exactly the same. You need ophthalmic examination. You will like to measure the intraocular pressure, the functionality of the retina, some imaging, either with fundus photos or the posterior segment OCT. However, the main point is not that is needed or not, but for the intravitreal, when your drug is targeting, for example, AMD, when your drug wants to prevent any leakage from the retinal vasculature. So we can perform a fluorescein angiography and we can show that your drug is decreasing or actually preventing the leakage of the retinal vasculature. And this is a type of procedure that is not necessarily mandatory when you do a subretinal injection. Of course, it can be included, but it's something that you can see that is differentiate one to the other, and we can help you deciding all these procedures for your study.
We do also have a very specialized team for ocular tissue harvest. Our team is trained on dissecting the whole eye. So we can do eyelids, conjunctiva, aqueous and vitreous humor, cornea, iris ciliary body, lens, retina, RPE, sclera, optic nerve, extraocular muscles, associated glands, and also trabecular meshwork. We usually do the collection in fresh eyes, so you can separate everything in the best way for your PK usually study.
So we are here to help you with any question you have. Like I said before, since developing or helping perfect your study design to have all the results that you're aiming for. Any other question, we are always, after the first contact, we have emails, interchange to help finalize everything. So thank you very much.
Thank you.